today what I'm going to talk to you about in this talk is the 6 lessons that we learned from the nearly 100 lawyers who doubled their revenue, because success leaves clue. Now, let me ask you a question. Give me a me in the chat if you want to double your revenue. Type me in the chat if you want to double your law firm's revenue in 2024. All right, fantastic. Who wants more freedom and the ability to choose what you do every single day? Give me a freedom in the chat. If you want freedom to do whatever you want, maybe that means you get to work on the cases you want. Maybe that means you work on the business and not in the business and never step foot in court again. Whatever it is, you get the freedom to do whatever you want. So that's what we're going to talk about today. That's what we're going to talk about is the lessons that we learned from the lawyers who have already done it. Now, let me put this in perspective. The average law firm grows 5% every single year. What percentage did I say? Type in the chat what percentage I just said, just so I know you guys are paying attention. 5%. The average law firm grows 5%. Now, let me ask you a question. Does anyone know what inflation was last year? Give me a guess if you know what the inflation number was last year. All right, so 7 to 8%, 8%, 7%, 5%. Inflation was very recently 8.26%. So if your law firm is growing 5% and inflation is 8.26%, what are you actually doing? Are you growing or is something else happening? Let me know in the chat what's actually happening. Shrinking, losing money, drowning, exactly, dying, stagnation, right? That's why this is so important, because we're not average. If you're on this event, you are not average. You understand that there's a bigger possibility out there for you. So I'm going to show you what these law firms had in common. But before I show you what they had in common, I first have to tell you what they didn't have in common. The first thing they didn't have in common was revenue. We have a firm that went from $100,000 to over $3 million a year, $100,000 a year to over $3 million a year. We have firms that have gone from $2, $3, $4 million and gone to $11 million plus. So it wasn't their revenue. They didn't have that in common. They didn't have practice area in common. We have personal injury attorneys. We have criminal defense attorneys. We have family law attorneys. We have immigration attorneys. We have all types of practice areas that have done this. It's not market size. Some were in small markets like Evansville, Indiana, and others were in major markets like Los Angeles. So it's not market size. It's not headcount. Some of them, it was literally just them. They were a true solo. They didn't even have an assistant, and some of them had big staffs when they came to us. So it is not about revenue. It's not about practice area. It's about market size. It's about headcount. It's also not about which level on the lawyer legacy staircase they started from. Let me guys ask you a question. You guys remember the lawyer legacy staircase that Bill just talked about? All right, I want you guys to grab your mystery boxes right now and pull out mystery item number 1. And while you do that, I'm going to grab this mystery box I got right in front of me. I want you to take your mystery box and item number 1, I want you to hold it up in front of the screen right here. Hold it up so I can see you guys. All right, I see it. All right, let's rip it open. You opened them all yesterday. All right, inside of here, here's what we got. All right. Now, you're going to see there are 4 bracelets in here. Each one corresponds with a level of the lawyer legacy staircase. So we've got solo practitioner, we've got small business manager, we've got law firm CEO, and we've got law firm owner. Now, if you recall where we are, let me know in the chat just so I know where you guys are. What are you, as Bill described these? Are you a solo practitioner? Type it in the chat. Are you a solo practitioner? Are you a small business manager? Are you a law firm CEO, or are you a law firm owner? All right, lots of solos, small business manager, solo, small business manager. All right, cool. So here's what we need to do. Just like on a GPS, before you can know where your destination is, you have to know where you're starting, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to find the bracelet that correlates with where you currently are. So maybe you're a solo practitioner, and I want you to put that on. So if you're a solo practitioner, put that bracelet on. If you're a small business manager, put that bracelet on. If you are a law firm owner or a law firm CEO, put that bracelet on. Now, I want you to put the other bracelets aside and sit them to the side because we're going to come back to those later. But right now, and give me a done in the chat once you have your bracelet on, and hold it up, actually. Hold it up so we can see it. And team, if you can give away a couple of gift cards to people holding up those bracelets. All right, lots of dones. Okay, cool. You can't get to your destination unless you know where you're starting from. And that's why we're doing this. We have to understand where we are so we know how to get where we're trying to go. Now, let's talk about what these law firm owners all have in common. The law firms that doubled their revenue or even more. The first thing is that they buy all in. Buy all in. What does that mean? They buy all in. Well, have you ever noticed that one thing that championship sports teams all have in common is that the coaches have a system? And the difference between a winning team and a team that usually doesn't really do anything is that the coach gets the players to buy into the system. I watched a documentary on Florida Gators football that was on Netflix recently. And Urban Meyer, who was the coach of Florida Gators, he had a system. And the number one thing, he's like, you know what? The reason we were so successful in, I think it was 2007, 2008, they won the national championship. They were just an absolute force to be reckoned with. They had Tim Tebow and Brandon Sykes and some just crazy players on their team. But the number one thing that he credits to their success is that the entire team bought into the system. Championship teams cannot win unless the players are bought into the coach's system. And our clients that have doubled their revenue or tripled their revenue or quadrupled their revenue or 10x their revenue in some cases, they have bought into our system. What does that mean? That means when they come to our coaching sessions, they play full out. They have their cameras on, right? They hold themselves accountable by having their cameras on, because let me tell you something. I'm going to ruffle some feathers here. Multitasking is a myth. It is impossible for you to multitask. It's impossible for you to be engaged in what we're doing here and also answering emails and also on the phone and also doing other work. It's not possible, guys. So if you're anything worth doing is worth doing correctly. So buy in, turn your camera on, because the clients that are the most successful are the ones that buy into the system. It's funny. We have an SEO program where we write blogs for our clients, and there's a direct correlation with the clients who have success with their SEO and the ones that get their blog post edits back to our team quickly. There's some clients that they want to have control over what goes on their blog post, which is great. But the ones that get them back quickly, the ones that buy into the system, those are the ones that get even better results. Video coaching. We do video coaching with our clients where we actually teach them and we coach them on how to create videos. The clients that buy into our system, that do what we say, we actually have a client not too long ago. She went from $94 per lead to $17 per lead. Type $17 per lead in the chat if you would love to get leads at $17. The reason she did that is because she bought all in. And I've done this as well. You know, when I first started creating content, I was actually kind of scared. Let me ask you a question. Give me a yes in the chat if you've ever seen a video of mine before this event. If you've ever seen anything from me before this event, type yes in the chat. All right, the chat is blowing up. Okay, here's the funny part, and this is something most people don't know about me. I bought a camera before I ever filmed a single video. I've got over 1,400 videos on YouTube. Before I ever filmed a single video, I bought a camera, and it sat on my desk for 6 months. How long did it sit there? Let me know in the chat. How long did that camera sit on my desk? 6 months. Exactly. And then what happened was, I hired a coach, and I did what every good entrepreneur has to get comfortable doing. I reached in my pocket and I paid money to someone who had already done something that I wanted to do so that he would show me how he did it. So I hired a coach. His name is Dan Henry, and he said, Andy, you've got to start filming videos every single day, and you've got to just help people solve small problems. If you help people solve enough small problems, they will eventually hire you for the big problem. If you were on VIP this morning, you probably heard me say that probably about 5 times. That's what he said. So what did I do? I bought all in. I said, all right, you know what, Dan? I'm going to do this. And I bought all in. Every single day, I filmed another video that solved another problem. And now, fast forward 5 years, 6 years later, and every single person on here just said, yes, they have seen my videos. They have seen my content. We now have a $30 million business. I have another business that's not even in this business. It does $4 million in revenue because I buy all in. And now, every single coaching program that we're in, Bill and I are always the number one students. It's not because we're smarter, it's because we work harder, right? I'm definitely not the smartest, but I buy in and it gives me success. So number one that all of our clients have is they buy into the system. The second thing is they know their numbers. They know their numbers. Now, there's a number that you need to know. It's called the lead abundance number. And what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to pull out a piece of paper and a pen, and we're going to do some numbers here, right? I want you guys to write this down with your numbers, not my numbers, right? So the first thing we need to know is we need to know what is your lead abundance number, because a lot of times, we say we want to hit these revenues, we want to make more money, but we don't actually put numbers down to figure out, well, what does hitting that look like? How does that actually work, right? So this is called your lead abundance number. This is going to say how many leads do you actually need to hit your goal revenue. So what I want you to do is I want you to, first of all, write down your goal revenue. Now, if you don't know what your goal revenue is, the goal that you want to make in 2024, then double your revenue from 2023. So let's say that your law firm made $1 million in 2021. I'm going to use this as my example, but you do this with your number. What we're going to do is we're first going to calculate how many cases we need annually to hit our number. So if my fictional law firm made $1 million last year, then that means that this year I want to make $2 million. So I want you to write down your number, $2 million, or whatever that goal revenue is, and I want you to divide it by your average case value, right? Now, your average case value is just your average case value, right? And just ballpark these numbers. You don't have to be perfect, right? So let's say that my average case value is $5,000. So this will tell you right now that if you have a revenue goal of $2 million and your average case value is $5,000, that tells you you need 400 cases to hit that goal. Let me know in the chat, how many cases do you need to hit your goal? Let me know in the chat. How many cases? All right, Christopher said 571, 480, 300, 233, 90, 220. Okay, fantastic. All right, now this seems like a big number, right? This seems a little bit intimidating. So let's look and see how this breaks down monthly. So let's take this number, the cases that we need, and I want you to do your numbers, not my numbers, your numbers, and divide it by 12. So in this case, 400 cases divided by 12 is actually just 33 cases per month. Well, that's not that bad. I mean, it's better than 400, right? 400 is a huge number, right? How many cases do you need per month? Let me know in the chat. Goal is 70, 20, 40, 7.5. These are realistic numbers, guys. All right, so now let's figure out how many leads you need, right? So let's look at what is your actual closing percentage. Let me know in the chat. If somebody comes in your office, if 10 people come into your office, qualified leads come into your office, how many of those 10 are going to sign up as clients? Let me know in the chat. How many of those will sign up? So I see a 3, I see an 8, I see a 4, I see a 7, I see a 2. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do your realistic closing percentage. So whatever it is, I want you to take your closing percentage and I want you to cut it in half. So if you said if you said I'm going to close 4 out of 10, then assume your closing percentage is half of that, 20%, right? So what you're going to do is you are going to divide the number of cases you need by your realistic closing percentage. So I think I'll close at 40%, so I'm going to do 20%. So 33 divided by 20% equals 165 leads. So that means that I need 165 leads per month to hit my goal of $2 million. Let me know in the chat, how many leads do you need per month to hit your goal revenue? 55, 85, 44, 40, 170, 83. See, these numbers are not crazy, guys. And with the marketing strategy that we're going to talk to you about for the rest of this event, this is totally, totally doable. Now, one of my mentors once told me, when he was asking me asking me questions about my numbers, he said something very important, and I want you to write this down. He said, Andy, without data, you're just an idiot with an opinion. Without data, you're just an idiot with an opinion. And that's something that you have to understand, is that without data, you're just guessing. So it's very, very important that you have data for everything and that you're paying attention to these numbers, because that's what these clients who have all doubled their revenue all have in common, is they know their numbers. Now, the third thing that they have in common is they have what I call the rich dad mindset. The rich dad mindset. Give me a me in the chat if you have ever read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. A lot of me's. All right, Rich Dad, Poor Dad changed my life when I was probably, 19, 20 years old. Rich Dad, Poor Dad changed my life. It started my entire entrepreneurial journey, right? Now, in that book, there's a very specific part that Robert Kiyosaki is talking about the difference between why rich people are rich and why poor people are poor. And it comes down to a single question, right? Let's say there's a dream house or a dream car or a dream vacation. A poor person looks at that dream house, that dream car, that dream vacation, and they say, I can't afford that. I'll never be able to afford that. I can't do that. I can't have that. That's what a poor person does. A rich person does something different. A rich person asks a question. Instead of saying, I can't afford that dream house, I can't afford that dream car, I can't afford that dream vacation, they ask, how can I afford that dream car? How can I afford that dream vacation? How can I afford that dream house? And that is precisely why they are rich. Because it is never a lack of resources. It is always, always, always a lack of resourcefulness. It is always a lack of resourcefulness, right? So, for example, if there's big spending attorneys in your market, who here has a big spending attorney in your market? An attorney who spends 10 times what you could ever even dream of spending right now. Let me know in the chat if that's your story. If you have a big spending attorney in your market. See, a few people, right? Oh, here's the thing. They didn't just get there. They weren't just born an attorney with a huge marketing budget, right? So if they can do it, you can do it as well if you ask the right question. Instead of saying, oh, I can never compete with them, I could never beat them, ask a better question. Ask an empowering question. Ask, how can I compete with them? How can I outspend them? How can I get cases that they're missing? Because when we ask better questions, we get better answers. And when we ask better questions, we live a better life. The quality of our life depends on the quality of our questions. Write that down. The quality of our life depends on the quality of our questions. Here's the interesting thing. And, I'm kind of talking a little bit about mindset, but mindset is so important that I really want to draw this out because no one really breaks down exactly how mindset works. Because the reality is that every single thing that happens to us, whether good, whether bad, it doesn't matter what it is. Every single thing that happens to us is just a fact. Now, the outcome that you get depends on the frame that you put around this fact. Now, good or bad, the fact is just the fact. Because the reality is that anything that you think about an outcome that has not yet happened, about a future-based outcome, you made it up. It's completely in your head. So why would you give a single ounce of energy to a thought that doesn't serve you at the highest level? Now, let me show you exactly why this is important and what I mean. So every fact that you have is going to trigger a belief. Now, belief is a two-sided coin. On one side, you have faith, and on the other side, you have doubt. But let me tell you a little secret. Whether you have faith or whether you have doubt, you made it up. Whether you have faith or whether you have doubt, you made it up. Let me give you a perfect example. Let's say that your spouse comes to you and says, I want a divorce. Is that positive or is that negative? Let me know in the chat. If your spouse comes to you and says, I want a divorce, is that positive or is that negative? It depends. Exactly. The lawyer answer for my favorite lawyer answer, it depends, right? The reality is that you can have faith. You can say, okay, well, you know what? I guess that this wasn't really a great marriage anyway. Now I can finally get away from this person. I can find my true soulmate, right? I can find somebody that's going to be amazing for me. Or you can have doubt and you could say, oh, my life's over. I'm going to die alone with my 5 cats. But whether you have faith and believe you're going to meet somebody else or have doubt and believe that your life is over, you made it up. It's all in your head. Now, here's why this is important. Because your beliefs cause your state. And state is two sides. If you have faith, you're going to enter a state of anticipation. Does anybody remember being 7 years old and it's Christmas Eve and it's like 7 o'clock at night and your parents make you go to bed and what's the one thing you can't do at 7 o'clock when you lay down and you put your head on the pillow at 7 o'clock when you're 7 years old on Christmas Eve? What's the one thing you can't do? Let me know in the chat. Sleep. You can't sleep. Exactly, because you have so much anticipation. You have so much excitement because anticipation is the expectation of an outcome that you desire, right? Anticipation is the expectation of an outcome that you desire. Now, what's the opposite? The opposite is anxiety. Everyone thinks that anxiety is fear. Anxiety and fear are two different things. You cannot have fear without a real and present danger. Anxiety is the expectation of an outcome that you don't desire. That's all it is. So if you expect that you're going to have a great outcome, then you're going to enter into a state of anticipation. Now, the reason that this is important is because your state determines your behavior. Now, let me ask you a question. If you believe that you're going to meet somebody new and you're excited about meeting somebody new, do you think that is going to cause you to take positive or negative actions? Let me know in the chat. Positive or negative action? Positive, exactly. You're going to go back and you're going to get in shape. You're going to start going on dating sites. When your friends call you and say, hey, let's go out Friday night, you're going to go with them. You're going to get a makeover. You're going to do wardrobe. And you're going to take positive actions. And when you take positive actions, what is the outcome? Let me know what the outcome is when you take positive actions. Is it positive? Are you actually going to meet somebody? Yes, you are. It's a positive outcome. Now, conversely, let's say that you have anxiety and you think, oh, I'm going to die alone. I'm never going to meet anybody. Are you going to do positive actions or negative actions? Are you going to go to the gym or are you going to go to the grocery store and buy Ben & Jerry's? You're probably going to do the negative stuff, right? So you're going to have negative actions, negative behavior. And if you have negative behavior, what is your outcome going to be? Let me know in the chat. Is your outcome going to be positive if you take negative actions? It's going to be negative, right? Negative actions, a negative outcome. And that is why the frame that you put around this fact is so vitally important. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I tell my kids that every single day. So that is why it is so important that you understand that any thought that you have, any belief that you have about a future-based outcome, whether you have faith or whether you have doubt, you made it up. So if there's big spending attorneys in your market, whether you believe that you can beat them or you think there's no way that you'll ever beat them, you made it up. But what you think directly contributes to your outcome. So that's the third thing, is they have rich dad mindset. Now, number 4, they are consistent. There's a great documentary called One More Mile. Nobody's ever heard of it. I think it's on Amazon Prime. And basically, it's this race in Tennessee where it's literally just a 1 mile loop, and you have 20 minutes to complete each mile, and then you just keep going until the last man standing. And it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy because it's not about being the most talented. It's not about being the strongest. Like, anybody can do a mile in 20 minutes. It's literally about just not quitting. It's just about going. In fact, the guy who, actually, I'm not going to tell you, spoiler alert, but there's a guy on there who is a Navy SEAL. And one of the things that he talks about is that Navy SEAL training, Hell Week, it's never about the most athletic. The most athletic people always quit first. It's the people that are the most consistent, the people that just stick with it and just don't quit and just don't quit. You see, most people fail because they give up what they want most for what they want now, right? But here's the thing, like, motivation is something that people think. They think, I need to be motivated. I need to be motivated. Well, motivation goes away. These people that are successful, our clients that are successful, they're not motivated. They're disciplined. Discipline is remembering what you really want, right? And when you're disciplined, that's when motivation fades. Like, who here's been motivated Friday afternoon? You're like, Monday morning, diet starts. I'm going to be super motivated. I'm going to lose all this weight. I'm going to, new year, new me, all that type of stuff. And then Monday comes around. What happens on Monday morning? All motivation's out the window. If you had discipline, it wouldn't matter, because discipline is remembering what you really want, right? Now, I said before that I created content every single day. And I want to show you something. I want to show you a chart that allowed me to have success. And this chart, I'm not exaggerating. The chart that I'm about to show you right now is the reason that I am on stage today. It is the only reason I didn't quit, right? It is the only. Somebody type only in the chat, just so I know that you guys are paying attention, right? This is something that I call the gap of disappointment. And let me know, type me in the chat if you have actually created content, if you created videos. Type me in the chat if you've created videos and you try to do it on a regular basis. So this is the gap of disappointment. So here's what happens. When you want to create content, you initially start, right? This is exactly what happened. This happened to me. This happened to Bill. This has happened to so many different people, right? So what happens is you say, all right, I'm going to start creating videos. I'm going to start creating content. And what happens is you do a video. And it's actually not that difficult to do the video. You've never done it before. It's exciting, and you kind of have an idea of what you could talk about. So the effort, this is the effort right here. The effort is actually relatively low. And what else happens simultaneously is that when you post that video, your return on investment is high. Now, when I say return on investment, I don't mean dollars, right? This isn't dollars. This is ROI in the form of dopamine hits. And what I mean by that is that because it's new, because it's fresh, because people haven't seen you doing it before, what ends up happening is your friends, your family, your colleagues, people will start commenting. They're like, oh, great video. Wow, great information. They'll like, they'll share, they'll do all that type of stuff, right? And what happens is that it feels great. And you get an ROI, because again, we're not going to make one video and get a client, right? Can we all say yes if we understand that we're not going to do one video and get a client? Like, it's a process. It takes a while, right? But you will get that ROI in the form of dopamine hits, right? But here's what happens. As time goes on, as you continue creating videos and you try to get a little more, as you try to get more consistent, what ends up happening is the effort starts creeping up. It starts creeping up. It starts creeping up. It starts creeping up. It starts creeping up until it's kind of difficult, right? Now, simultaneously, when you need it the most, the ROI starts going down. And when I say ROI, I mean the dopamine hits and the likes and the shares and the comments and all that type of stuff. And the reason why is because people now have seen a bunch of your videos. They've seen a bunch of your stuff. So it's not new. It's not fresh, right? Well, this right here, this is the gap of disappointment. I shouldn't have called it God. This is the gap of disappointment, right? And this right here is where everybody quits. This is where everybody quits, where it went from being very easy to hard, and it went from very rewarding to not rewarding, right? Has anybody experienced this before? Let me know in the chat if you film videos and you've experienced this before. Say me if you have. Okay, so I had an advantage. I knew when I was doing this, somebody already showed me this chart. I knew what was going to happen. I knew that the effort was eventually going to come back down. But I also knew that the ROI was about to skyrocket. And this is real dollars. This is ROI in terms of money. This is ROI not dopamine hits. Yeah, you get those, but that's where you're actually getting clients, right? But the reality is that this right here is your best friend, because this is where all of your competitors quit. The gap of disappointment. There's a statistic that if that 90% of people who say they're going to do anything, whether they say I'm going to create videos or I'm going to create a podcast or write blog posts, 90% of them will never get to the third iteration of the thing. So 90% of people who say they're going to create videos will not get to 3 videos. And then 90% of those people who get to 3 videos will not get to 21. So what that means is that you don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the most talented. Just don't quit. If 100 people say they're going to film videos, 1% of them, that's what this is. This is 1%. 1% of them will even make it to number 21. So you don't have to be the best. Just be consistent, right? Just like these clients. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the most talented. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be consistent, right? Now, the 5th thing that they all have in common is they are smart investors. Smart investors. Now, let me ask you a question. When I say investments, let me know in the chat what comes to mind. I'm going to take a sip of water. I got a little tense there. What comes to mind when I say investments? Type in the chat. Trade, money, stocks, bonds, me. I like that, Virginia. Growth. Nobody said the most. Okay, fine. Constantino said the most obvious one. It's usually, stocks, real estate. Mohammed said real estate. Yeah, exactly. Most people think real estate. They think stocks. They think bonds, all that type of stuff, right? Now, I want to tell you a story about my investing and how my neighbor's daughter just blew my return on investment away through something very, very simple. So I invested in real estate, about 10. And I bought a rental property a couple years ago. And I paid, so it was a rental property. I paid $127,000. And I sold it a couple years ago for $240,000. So I actually really only put $45K in. So I put $45,000 in, and I pulled out $120,000. That's a pretty good ROI. That was over 5 years. It's a profit of $75,000 profit, $75K profit. And it is a 166% ROI. And it's a 21% year over year. Now, anyone that does real estate will tell you that 21% year over year for 5 years is pretty good, right? I mean, it's decent. It's not bad at all. So I was talking to my friend's neighbor, or my neighbor's daughter, actually. I was talking to my neighbor, and he was telling me about how his daughter also just invested in herself. So she used to be a waitress, and she made $15 per hour. So that equates to $31,200 a year. So she saw an ad for a $3,000 program to become a phlebotomist. It was a 4-week training, and it was $3,000. And doing that, she could become a phlebotomist, somebody who draws blood. So she spent $3K on this training. And that instantly, just by having this increased earning potential, this skill set, that instantly allowed her to go to $25 an hour, which is an annual salary of now $52,000 a year, right? So that means that in year 1, she made a $20,800 increase, which in year 1 is a 593% ROI on her investment, right? Over 5 years, let's see if I make this smaller. All right, over 5 years, she is going to make $205,000 extra and a 6,800% ROI. It's kind of small compared to my real estate investment, right? But here's the thing. She invested in herself. Much like so many of our clients, she invested in herself. She invested in her ability to get more done and to be able to make more money. right? So our clients, they invest in themselves first. They invest in their own education because they understand that they don't have the answers. Heck, I don't even have all the answers. That's why Bill and I invest in ourselves. We have coaching programs because we don't have all the answers, because we have to learn this stuff too. They invest in communities, masterminds, being around like-minded individuals that are going to elevate them to the next level. They invest in their business. They invest in employees. They invest in ads to grow their business. Let me ask you a question. If you give Google $1,000 and Google gives you back $5,000 for every $1,000 that you've given, how many people would take that deal? Give me a me in the chat. If you give Google $1,000, they give you $5,000 back. That's a 400% ROI. All right, smart people. Later, I'm going to show you how to get a return like that on your ads. It's going to be later today. I'm going to show you how you can do that exact same thing so you can invest in your business and invest in ads and grow your law firm just like our clients. Now, the sixth thing that these clients all do is they act like professional athletes. Now, let me ask you a question. Let's see, who here likes Tom Brady? Give me a me if you like Tom Brady, and give me a boo if you are a Miami Dolphins fan, or maybe a Jets fan, or a Bills fan, and you hate Tom Brady. See some me's. I got a big boo from Christopher Gaddy. Colts. No sports ball. All right, well, here's the thing, right? Tom Brady. Do you think that Tom Brady became a professional athlete, and then, and only then, is when he started eating well, when he started training twice a day, when he started working out on his off time, when he started watching tape, when he started paying attention to how he slept? Or is it possible that Tom Brady, before he became a professional athlete, he ate well? He watched tape. He practiced twice a day. He focused on his sleep. Do you think that he did it before, or he did it after he became a professional? All right, Lucy said before. In order to become, you must first be. Exactly. Professional athletes act like professional athletes before they are professional. And that is the exact reason that they become a professional athlete, because they act like a professional before they become a professional. You see, you don't get what you want. You get what you are. Let me ask you a question. What does a tree have to do to grow apples? Somebody take a guess in the chat. What does a tree have to do to grow apples? Have water, be a tree. A couple people have seen this. It has to be an apple tree. You see, an apple will never grow from an orange tree. An orange will never grow from an apple tree, because you get what you are, not what you want. So if you want to be a law firm owner, or if you want to be a law firm CEO, let me know in the chat. What do you want to be? Do you want to be a law firm owner? Do you want to be a law firm CEO? Type in the chat what you want to be. In fact, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take the bracelet, type in the chat, or take the bracelet and hold it up. Hold up the one that you want to be. This green one right here is the law firm owner. Who wants to be a law firm owner? All right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to look down at your wrist right now, and you've got an identity on right now. I've got Solar Practitioner right here. I want you to take that bracelet, and I want you to take it off right now. Take it off, and I want you to hold it up in front of the camera. Hold it up in front of the camera. All right. Now, I want you to take this bracelet, take this identity, this old identity, and throw it in the trash can. It's gone. That identity is gone. Here's what you need to do. Take the law firm owner bracelet or the law firm CEO bracelet, whichever one you want, and put that on right now. And I want you to hold your wrist up to the camera so we can see it. This is your new identity. Every decision that you make has to be made with the question, would a law firm owner do this? If a law firm owner wouldn't do this, then you shouldn't be doing it. Hold him up. Let me see him. Hold him up so I can see him. All right, fantastic. I appreciate you guys playing full out. Now, I want you to leave this on throughout the event and even after the event, because this is important, because, guys, we do not get what we want. We get what we are. If you want to be a law firm owner, you have got to start acting like a law firm owner. You've got to make the decisions that a law firm owner will make, and then you will become a law firm owner by doing that process. Does that make sense? Give me some yeses in the chat if that makes sense. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Fantastic. All right. So now the question is going to be, what does a law firm owner do? Well, Charlie Munger, who unfortunately just passed away recently, used to talk about a concept called inversion thinking. And I love this concept because Charlie Munger would say that, well, if you want to learn how to do something, you want to learn how to do anything, sometimes the easiest way is to figure out how would I not achieve that goal? Like, what are all the things that I could do to not achieve that goal? And then I can just look at that list and just do the opposite. So, for example, if I want to get in shape, what is the inversion of that? If I want to get in shape, what are all the things that would prevent me from getting in shape? So let's see, I wouldn't work out. I would eat like crap. I wouldn't sleep well. I wouldn't drink water. Like it's a pretty easy thing to do. And then basically you look at that list and you say, okay, well, if I want to be in shape, then I just do the opposite of all this stuff, right? So here's what I want everybody to do. I got about a minute left here. And I want everybody to pull out a clean piece of paper and let me know when you have a clean piece of paper and type done in the chat when you have a clean piece of paper. All right, fantastic. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down what behaviors would prevent you from becoming a law firm owner. What are the old behaviors you would have? I want you to just make a list. Like, write down what would a law firm owner, if you didn't want to become a law firm owner, what would you do? So, for example, would you act indecisively? Just not avoid making decisions at all costs, right? You would maybe avoid investing in your team. You would avoid investing in your marketing because you'd always be like, is it going to work? Will it work? I don't know. Is it going to work? You would say, I can't afford it or I can't do it. You would wait until the time is right. Guys, let me tell you a secret. When will the time ever be right? Let me know in the chat. Does anyone know when the time will ever be right? Let me know in the chat. Never, right? Exactly. The time will never be right. The time was never right. So if you don't want to be successful, then you just wait until the time is right? You would need approval for every single decision that you make. You would not act decisively. You would have will it work thinking. What else? Let me know in the chat. What other behaviors would you have if you didn't want to be a law firm owner? What else would you have? Let me know. Anybody have any? Just need to decide. Perfectionist, exactly. Doing it all yourself. Negative self-talk. Not show up my marketing dispassionately. Exactly. Don't save money. Accept inferior work for employees. Guys, this is perfect, right? So now that you know what not to do, the easiest way to become a law firm owner is to just do the opposite.